Well, Peter, as I say, there's now 13 people in here.
Okay.
If you wanted to make a start, please be my guest. I'll
Yes.
just introduce everybody. Peter Besant in his workshop. Thank you. Take it away.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tony. So I just wanted to give the opportunity this afternoon to have you guys be able to ask any questions and just talk a little bit about the business, how it works, how I run it. But I suppose the difference is people have only ever seen me standing behind a stand. So it gives you a good opportunity, I suppose, to see where the magic happens, I think, as Tony put it before. But there's a few things I'm working on with regards to new products. But I think, yeah, if you've got any questions, just fire them my way. But what I wanted to kind of take you through really was the completing of a kit, what goes in the box. And I think this is something that Tony and I were talking about earlier, and it really starts with the master, I suppose, and how we go about designing such things. Now, the modern world has made it, I think, more user-friendly to be able to create masters. If you're someone au fait with 3D CAD, which sadly I'm not. So a lot of the technology that I use to produce kits is the technology that's been around for decades. You know, a good old file, a good old milling machine, a drill, not a computer and a printer. That said, I'm in awe of, and he's on again, and he'll be embarrassed, but Aaron Sharmu's helped me immensely with some of the stuff that I'm doing, which just does not lend itself to the old ways. So what I am trying to do is keep the old product range alive, which is, you know, the RJH range that some of you may or may not know. Forgive me because I can't see the faces of individuals because I'm on a little iPhone, so I can't tell you whether you're a younger aged modeler, a more mature modeler, or somewhere plonked in the middle. So I may go over ground that you all know, but you know, the history of PRMRP spans back to the mid-80s, and a lot of the range was created by a guy that you probably all will know or can Google by the name of Dave Parkin, I think, who was the forerunner of modern image that was at the time. Now, it just so happens that the way this country's railways run, modern image at the time is still up and running now, some 50, 60 years later in some cases. The company, Dave Parkin, RJH, Wagon and Carriage, you know, it's gone through a number of hands and, you know, found its way to me. And I would say I'm probably one of the longest serving owners of this business, doing 16, coming up to 17 years, 16, 17 years. And the reason I got involved was I was new into the hobby, and Nigel Stanley, who was then the current owner, was looking to sell it. And quite simply, I'd only just got started, and there wasn't a lot else out there really, modern image wise. I think the only two locos available were the Tower 24 and 25. I think you could get the 101 DMU and two wagons, HEA and the MEA. And I think they did a couple of tanks early on, which were more before my time. So options were limited. I'm pleased to say that the whole modern image arena for me is kind of gathering a pace, and you know that the likes of Helgen, Dapol bringing out ready to run in their quantities will only serve to help us all, because you know, ultimately you buy a loco, you get the bug, then you see someone build something, you get the bug. So you know, a lot of people have said, oh, does it hinder you? No, I'm not a volume business. I tend to serve the modeler as opposed to the ready to run fraternity. But saying that, the spares that I produce complement the ranges that these guys bring out. So yeah, that's a little bit of background of what we are. I am now a one-man band. Dad, bless him, for health reasons, isn't up to helping the way he can. And the reason I run the business is purely to fund my hobby. I have said before to people, it just helps me hide what I'm buying from my wife. one step further. So there's never a transaction goes through my bank account, our joint account for model railways. So good. So Tony, is there a direction you want me to travel in now?
Well, it's entirely up to you, but how do you start off by designing a kit that you decide that you want to make?
Yeah, so for me, a lot of the, I don't do market research. A lot of the stuff I do now is for me. So if I want something, to me, that's a good way of starting to produce a kit. So what that kind of alleviates is any faux pas in terms of making the wrong choice, ploughing a load of money into design. Now, whether that's getting someone to do your design work for you or having a stab yourself, getting it produced, so on and so forth. You know, you can sit there with boxes full of kits. Now, if you don't want them yourself, actually, that's not a sensible measure for the type of business that I run. So one of the things that I was really keen on was being East Anglian. There's some grain flow traffic, you know, the stuff that you can't get readily available now from the mid 80s. So I thought, right, well, let's have a look at some grain flow wagons. Now, it just so happened another fella that I'd been talking to was very much into this. And, you know, it started off by trying to track down drawings. That's like trying to make gold, alchemy style. Drawings in the modern image fraternity or world, you know, unfortunately, it's a wasteful society. I think BR cleared out sheds by dumping a load of them. But there are, you know, some avenues that you can get drawings, but a lot of the work we do either comes from measuring up, which is a job in itself because you need to find the vehicle you want, or dare I say guesstimating. And that is using the dimensions you've got with pictures that you hope someone have taken broadside on, not at an angle, etc., etc. So, you know, there's a lot of conversation about accuracy of kits and so on and so forth. If you can't find a drawing, you can't find a vehicle running, there's a lot of improvisation put in it, particularly underneath. Because if you can find a decent picture of a wagon, invariably it's taken from above, unless you're Paul Bartlett, or it's black. And everything black tends to just look like a block. So that's a little bit of the background. So then it comes to thinking about how to design it. For me, as I said, I'm a 2D dinosaur, and I've got to work in 2D, and I understand how my kits go together. So, you know, it doesn't faze me to bring out a new kit in 2D. So just as a case in point, this is the body for the Scottish malt polybulk. Okay, so that is all flat pack.
Is that a VJA?
No, this is a Scottish malt polybulk. So it's really difficult without sharing the screen to show you, but you may have, there's wagons, if you look at them, they're striking, they're blue and white in livery. If you go on Paul Bartlett's website, you'll be able to see on there, if you go for Scottish malt distillers, so these are the transfers I have made by R3 Rainbow Resprays. But if you look for the Scottish malt, just go online now and you'll bring up one of those. And they have the distinctive wheat sheath on the side. But yeah, so basically it's all about what do you need on it in terms of bogies, tanks, and invariably I've got all of those in the range. And then it comes to the being of, how do I construct that? How do I draw that? So for me, these wagons tend to end up becoming, and you might not see me for a second, but I'm just whipping around the shed. But you've just got to work your brain out to lay it on a flat bit of paper. So that is this was my first effort at 2D CAD. And what you've got there is basically all of the parts you need to create this. Even to the point where you learn some tricks along the way. So people talk about bending bending brass and having trouble bending it round corners. Well, I don't know if it comes up there, but if you can see on here now, start to incorporate corrugation all the way down the body side, which literally allows you to form it round a surface. So there's all of this fear about bending bars, etc. You get these curves now purely through bending it around that surface. Look, with every model that's, you know, metal work, there's a degree of sanding and filing. But so yeah, it's that, and then you kind of decide how much detail or not you want to put on things. Now, there is a sad fact that detail costs money, and detail, you know, some people you don't even see some of it. So I'm very, I'd say, I'm going to use the terminology meter modeler. It's one I think that's gone around the circuit a bit, but if it looks okay from a meter away, invariably most things are passing me a nice little jog. I'm pretty happy with that as an output. But equally so, it doesn't stop you being able to have the basis to add more detail on. This had a little handrail the whole length of the top. Well, I'd just do that in handrail wire. Others, you know, would prefer to get it made in lost wax or whatever. But so that's one of the things. Then the other thing that I'm looking to do, and again, Aaron's kindly helped me, is I want an HST. My existing HST is the hardest of my kits to build, even to the point where, you know, Dave Parkin drew it. And, you know, it's all drawn by hand. That's what we have to remember. So something that intricate in terms of moulding the fronts, etc., were all done. And they're all flat brass like that I've just showed you. And bringing those contours together is a tough gig, I have to be honest. Dave Lowry has built a couple of commissions for me. He's got it down to a fine art, but we've got the comfort of being able to play around with an etch here because of, you know, I can get them pretty easily. So, you know, I want to get people into the ability to, you know, take the plunge, but make it as easy as I can. So what I'm intending to do with the HST, now I've done the 2D drawing, it just needs checking. So that sheet I've shown you hasn't been sent to the etchers yet, my HST version. But effectively, Aaron's kindly done a front for me. So hopefully you can see that. So the beauty of having a Gage Guild show day is, well, before you were on, I was actually sanding this off and taking some of the drawing lines out, ready to have it sent off as the master. But what I want to be able to do is, there's the rear of the power car. So if you can visualize an etch in the middle of that with body formers, very similar to how Dave Parkin started to do some of his MMP range. So you will have the front and the back with a curved central body that should just stick on. Then all the underframe will be the usual PRMRP mythology, which I think if I can just exhibit. So this is a 20, but they all follow the same. Everything hangs off the bottom. So what you've got is your cross braces, to which, you know, you'll have a bogey on the HST, very similar to this, with the right the right castings, you don't want a class 20. Don't get under its majesty, it wouldn't go as fast. But effectively, they all construct, and then nylon bolt just holds them together. So you can see that's an unpowered version. And then when you come to powering it, now normally I power both in a loco, you'll see that you've got cam motor, gear and worm, a Delrin drive. So someone asked earlier, I think it was Peter, for the benefit of the people on what's the difference between full and a basic kit. Well, the basic kit gives you everything to build the chassis like this without the wheels, and all the body, etc. So you'd get that, and you'd get all the chassis, and you just need to source your own wheels, gears, motors, etc. If you buy the full kit from us, basically you get everything plus the motorising kit for both bogies. So effectively it's a paint and transfers exercise to complete the vehicle, plus any other modifications. I can't stress enough that this will give you a nice representation, but you can go the extra mile. And look, even to the point, I haven't gotten around, but I bought a load of Helgen spares, because I thought, I wonder what it would look like if I cut out my grill and put the Helgen one in. And actually, when you measure them up and lay them up, they fit in there as long as you cut it out. So I've got cab detailing kits from the Helgen spares range, and yeah, the fan, the roof grill. So yeah, don't be afraid to experiment with other manufacturers to improve the model further. So
Peter, got asked, is that a VGA behind you?
where are we looking?
I don't know. It was from Aaron. Aaron asked it.
Aaron. No, I don't think I've got my VGA out at the moment. Maybe it was this that was sitting on the top. No, I haven't got it out at the moment, gentlemen, unfortunately, but I can, if anybody wants to email me. And that's the other thing as well. My contact details are on the website. So if anybody has questions or wants to fire in an email or see a picture of something built, I've got most of my kit range here built, with the exception of some of the earlier diesels, which are before my my era. You know, I'm happy just to take a picture and send it out so you can see before you make a decision and buy it. So, but no, I think the answer to that one, Tony, was no.
Well, okay then. So, was there anything else you wanted to show us?
Yeah, so you had the Masters. So the other thing I wanted to just kind of let you know is the insight into how the castings get into the bag. So you start with the Master, basically. So in this instance, you'll have a Master. Now, generally they're made out, the originals are made out of the hardest material you can get your hands on that doesn't melt in terms of the mold making process. Because when you've got a Master, so, you know, for example, this here, this is the end of the range of containers I do. If you look at that, so that's a container end. Okay. Nice and strong, nice and sturdy. It's not going to bend in a mold. You know, it's going to sustain the heat that you need to make a mold, because ultimately everything comes out of one of these little babies, and it's not a glamorous task, but you basically put your Masters in there, because what you'll do to produce all the white metal castings is this will end up going, I'm going to take you on a tour if that's all right, Tony, because it's easy to explain. Excuse the mess. There's only so much tidying up I could do. But this is the little casting room. So as you can see, there are hundreds of molds. So all of these will contain all the parts to my kit range. And then what you have in here is you have your white metal. So that melts at 350 degrees. So yeah, you've basically got to be careful. And then this machine here is a centrifugal casting machine. So effectively it runs on electricity and compressed air. You get your mould, pop it in, put your lid on, shut your lid, and that will automatically compress the air, push the plate up, and then you pour your metal into the top there. Let it spin for a minute, and then ultimately that's where your masters will come out of, or your casting. So for example, this bogey side, you can see comes out of that. It's that way, but
You
comes
just
out of
push
that.
it down a bit, Peter. That's it.
Right, so you'll have your roof section in there. Now, it looks quite straightforward. However, there is some unwritten rule in casting that says not every bit will come out the same every time. So I'm not exaggerating. There are some parts in my kits that I will have to spin 20 or 30 times. So that's 30 minutes to get one bit out because I'm not completely satisfied with the quality. You know, that's the other advantage of making your own or doing your own casting. You know, before, when I bought the business, all of my casting was done by a war game miniatures company who had no idea what model railways were, and would fire those out, you know, in a kilogram box. You had to sort it out, and the quality was pretty rubbish. You know, for me, if I would use it, it goes in the kit. So yeah, that really is how the kit. So this gets cut up by me. Any bending needs doing, I will do to a point. So I purchased a set of the bending bars from, is it Keith, I think, the chap that works the merchandise stall normally.
There's 2 or 3 different people do the bending bars. I know Dave, the metalsmith, does as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah. But Keith did one set that had 4 or 5 different curvatures, and they were, because I need them about 2 foot long.
Yeah.
So most of the conventional bending bars and rolling bars don't work for me. So yeah, so I'll bend things as the best as I can to the oh, lovely. Where's mine? Oh, you've got service there, Tony.
My glamorous assistant.
Just one I brought earlier.
Thank you.
The tea for him.
So yeah, that all gets, so the etches get cut up, put in the box, the castings get made, put in their packets, put in the box, and then all of the ancillary stuff. So typically you could see a kit take an hour and a half to put together.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the work I do is done in the evenings. I work full time. So yeah, I tend to carry as much as I can in stock. But as you would appreciate, anything I carry in stock comes out of my pocket until it gets sold. So it's real fine line between overstocking and yeah, keeping a working flow of stock. So,
and having enough to build yourself.
I've always got enough to build myself. Without a doubt, I've got one of those shelves that just gets full of kits. I've spent the last 6 months rebuilding the layout. So I don't know if you guys can see, but basically this is what used to be Calvercar Town. So on the outside of the shed itself, 36 foot by 18, I've got a new layout being built, which yeah, is fit for purpose now. It's 2 levels. I've got a figure of 8 in the middle of the shed, so the casting room doubles up as my little figure of 8 room. So what you'll see there is the cords. So I get fed up with having to repair locos every 5 minutes when they've been taken out and put on the track and put back in the box. Inevitably something falls off. I think everybody suffers that. Yeah. So I thought I'd put a figure of 8 in the middle so I didn't have to pick a train up again. And a lot of the track work you can see on this layout now, you won't see because there's 2 levels, as I said, and that's all bottom level storage, which will go under the main layout.
So that's your future virtual show then?
Hopefully, or anybody that wants to come for a cup of tea and a slice of cake, you're more than welcome. But yeah, I'm on 1,000 meters of wire at the moment, just for level 1.
My God.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
and this one's all been soldered above my head.
Oh, that's awful. That's awful.
Yeah.
I've got plenty of marks on my head from that. You've got more hair than me.
Yeah, they protect me a bit. But so look, that's a kind of behind the scenes of, you know, what PRMRP is. You know, I'm not going to emphasize it any more than, you know, I'm a modeler that wants to, you know, model, keep this kit range going, because it has a place. It has a place in the current modern image market. You know, they are quite fun to build. You know, once you get the hang of them, they're a doddle. It's a leap of faith and ability to you know, draw in breath, give me a ring and ask me how to do it if you don't know. They're the sorts of things that I offer. Yeah.
Well, I have built one of your kits, a Class 31, many years ago. But I was just wondering if there's anybody got any questions. And I notice Steve Hother's asking, you missed the beginning of the show, but are you planning any new wagons?
Hi, Steve. Good to see you, or virtually see you. These polybulk that I had available last year hasn't really been launched other than ready to run. I'm looking at trying to get that into the realm of a kit, and so that'll be next year, I would have thought, if I'm honest. The priority for me is the HST. I'd like to get that up and running. So yeah, that's probably got the least amount of work. And then, if I'm honest, I just want to see how the market settles, because every idea I have seems to be the same idea that everybody else has. So I like to see what the ready to run market's doing. Andy at Buzz has had a big launch of a load of new stuff. See what they work like, because yeah, ultimately anything I bring out costs me money, and I think, you know, some of the stuff that I want is being done by Dave Lowry at the moment. So I don't know if you can see in the background, but you know, these, I'll bring them out to the light, might be easier. But these are, you see, only available ready to run. Is that showing, Tony? I'm looking over my camera at the moment.
Yes, now we're stationary. That is, yes.
Yeah. So, you know, that's actually, we talk about quality of printing, but that's been printed on a desktop printer.
Right.
It's not even been professionally printed, because the print lines actually hide themselves in the corrugation. So
for those uninitiated like me, what is that, please?
So that's a BYA steel carrier. So it's EWS, I think it was Thrall that commissioned them, but they retract and kind of carry the steel coil now.
Right.
But yeah, it's these kind of things that there's other steel carriers. I was lucky enough to, I'm going to take another wander now, as long as people are all right with that. But one of my passions is I like a bit of steel traffic. So it needs to be lifted up. But over in the corner, I managed to talk Dave Lowry out of giving me, or selling me, kind of giving me, Alan Downs' Steelworks.
Out of the middle of his layout?
He had a cement works in the middle of the layout. That's still there. This was over the back.
All right.
And I argued that no one ever looked over the back, so it was better off on my layout. So yeah, so steel traffic is one of my things as well. freight generally, Steve, I think. So just, you know, if there's things that you want and we can get drawings, etc., I'd happily consider anything, I think. But yeah, other than that, no is the answer in the shorter term, other than what I've got. If I bit off any more, no one would ever see it, because I'd just be ever decreasing circles, I would have thought.
Well, thank you very much. If anybody's got any other questions, please pose them now, because it's getting towards the end of the session. If anybody's got anything to say, don't hesitate. Come on, come forward. There's plenty of you there.
Yeah, there is a discount running for any orders this weekend. I think you'll, if you go into the traders pages, it's detailed on an advert there, Tony.
Oh,
Might as well plug selling something as well, mightn't I, today?
of course, yes. Let's have a look. Go to traders. We'll better go to the N to S section. I'm getting there.
So Stephen's got a Stephen's just posted again. He's got a rake of his wagons behind him. I don't know how you see him, Steve. You might need to put your video on. Or your video is on.
You've got the one behind you on this, Steve.
If anyone needs it, just drive it past.
I'll go for it, Steve. That's it. I can see you now.
Just
That's
for
the
information, Peter.
bogey oil wagon. Then your steel coil. I'll try and move the computer nearer.
That's right. Yeah, BXA. Oh yeah, HAA, VJ. Oh, that's a great advert, Steve. VDA, TTA, SPA, OBA. Ah, the grain flow. Lovely. That's lovely. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
That's not bad, but is it a moving advert?
Yeah. You mentioned that there's a discount for this week.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it on the website or on your website. What
Yeah,
discount were you offering to everybody?
10% on full wagon kits and full loco kits. So wagon and wheels, 10% discount, and full loco kits, 10% discount. And I shall post free as well, as if you're at a show.
That's absolutely brilliant. Well, thank you very much. On behalf of the whole of the virtual show team, I'd like to thank everybody for coming into this session and joining in. I hope it's been instructive and useful for you. And I've been thoroughly enjoyed the sessions, both this morning and this afternoon, and it's been very instructive. Thank you very much, Peter.
Thanks, Tony, and thanks everybody for joining. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye now.